Hello, my name is Nelson, and this tutorial is going to show you how to correct an error that I have in my code. And if you've been following my tutorials, you have it too. I apologize. I hate when people do this. I know it confuses people, so I want to apologize for doing this, but I have an error in the code. And here's the error. And it all starts with these two buttons. And the exit button works fine, but if I hit the launch button and I back arrow out of the game launches automatically all by itself. And I'll show you. I'm going to play the game. Here's the game it's playing. Turn up the volume. Background music is playing. Sound effects work. I'm going to hit the back arrow once. Works like it's supposed to. It's supposed to go back. Now I'm going to hit the back arrow again and see what happens. The game is going to automatically launch all by itself. And here we are. I'm going to hit the back arrow. As you can see, it plays the game all over again. That's an error. And where it's happening from, I'm going to hit the icon to get me back in the game. And here it is, the sprite icon, kill them all. I'm going to click on it. Here we go. Now, the reason I'm having this error where it plays again is how I programmed these two buttons. And the way I did it is I used an on-touch event to register a click on these two buttons. And I did that because the program gave me a hint that said I should use it. And when I researched it, I found out that it said it's basically the same as an on-click. But when I research it more, when I try to figure out this error, it really says it's a little bit more. It's two parts of this. It's an on-touch registered the touch to the screen and then a motion. So if you had like a multi-screen application and you wanted to scroll to the next screen, you touch the screen and then you slide to the left and a new page shows up, or up or down and a new page shows up. Well, that's what on-touch does. It's very powerful and it does several things. Register the touch and it register a motion. And that's not good for buttons because buttons, there's only one event, the click. It works good for the exit because once you press the exit button, you leave the game shuts down and the motion event just gets destroyed. But when you hit the launch game, it goes into the game. Then when you hit the back arrow, you're back to this page. When this page it still has that motion, it's looking for that motion event. So when you hit the return button again, it registers that as an event that you press the button again and it plays the game again. So that's why you get back to the next page back, but it's already registered the click and the game plays all over again. So we're going to have to change the on-touch command on these two buttons to the command call on-click. So let's get this down. Let's get started. We're going to launch our Eclipse like we always do. And we're going to need one file open. So if you notice, we're going to go over here like we always do to the Project Explorer. We're going to open up the project, which is called Kill Them All Dash Training. We're going to go down to the SRC folder, expand the package in there. And we're going to go down to the last file called the welcome screen.java. That's the only file you're going to need to open. We'll double click on that. It's open in our work area. We're going to expand the library, line 3, the plus sign to expand all our libraries. And we're going to look at the code now. It's pretty simple here, and the buttons are right here, button 1 and button 2. And if you notice, there's the on-touch listener and the on-touch event, and then the second part of the motion event. So as you see, we're going to change all those. Where we see on-touch, we're going to change that to on-click. And we're going to change a few little things. One of the things we're going to change is we're going to move these buttons out of this where it's at, which is in this whole method. And we're going to make it their own method. And the reason why is as we add more to this page, the welcome page, we're going to have to put them in this method. And this method is going to get entirely way too big to read very comfortably. Right now it reads pretty comfortable, but it is going to get big and complicated. So I'm going to move these buttons in their own method down here. Like this is its own method right here. We're just going to create another method here. And then let me hit enter. And we're going to create our own method and put them out of this one big method so it can be easier to read. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight the first button from button 1 to this closing bracket. We're going to copy. We're going to go right out of this, right below this closing bracket before this override, and we're just going to paste it right here. And then since we paste it down there, we can delete this, and now we're going to start making it its own method. We're going to, right here, since we're here, we're going to create the call to the method, or lack of a better word, call to the method. We're going to call the method. We're going to, new method, we're going to call it the launch button method. This is how you create, the method. This is going to call it. And then you're going to come down here to right on top of the button that you just copy and paste. And we're going to make this a method by adding. First, it's going to be a public method. It's not going to return anything, so we're going to make it void. And we're going to call, we say we're going to call it the launch button method, open bracket. And then we're going to come down here at the end, create space, and close the bracket. And then we're going to highlight everything in the middle here, and we hit the tab button once so we can indent it. As you can see, this is a method. We just created a method. If we said it's going to be a public method, it's not going to return anything. It's going to be void. And the method is going to be called the launch button method, which is calling it here. And that's how we created the method. Now we're going to do that. The same thing we did with button 1. We're going to do button 2. We're going to copy button 2 and paste it below. Right here. Paste. And then we're going to go back on top. We're going to get rid of button 2 because we don't need it. And we're going to call it here. And where it's going to be the exit button. And I'll go into the logic in a minute, tell you what's going on. So we're calling it here. So we're going to have to come down here, obviously, in button 2 and do exactly what we did. We're going to make this a method. It's going to be public, and it's going to not return anything. It's going to be void, and it's going to be exit button. Open bracket to start the method. At the bottom, close it. And then we're going to go ahead, same, and then that. And as you see, there's no errors. And basically what happens in this page, once this page comes to this on create, it's going to create the screen that we were on, the welcome screen. And as it comes down here, it's going to say, oh, there's 2 methods you want me to put in memory. And it's going to put, and it'll say, oh, so the 2 method is the launch button and the exit button method into memory. So it's going to do that. And in there, they're going to say, oh, there's a listener in here. So I'm going to run the listener in the background since I have to. So it's running in the background. And that's how all this get loaded. And of course, when it comes to on create, that's what it does. It goes to here first. So while this is running, so now our methods are created. Again, I did this because I want this more encapsulated, more separate. So if you ever needed, you could come here and copy and paste this button into another program later in the future. So let's start changing. Our next thing we need to do is, if you press save and run this, it'll run perfectly, but it'll still have the error that if you hit backspace twice, the game will automatically run again. Don't stop that. We're going to, like I said before, wherever we see a touch, we're going to change that to a click. So now this is going to be an on click method, and this is an on click listeners now. So capital C. Wherever we see a click, we're going to change touch. We're going to change it to on click. Here's a click right here. And I think that's all for the number 1 button. And now we notice there's some errors. First of all, we're going to notice right here, the boolean says it's on click. It's never be a void. Meaning it's not going to return anything. And so if it's not going to return anything, you don't need to return false because it's not going to return anything. And the next thing about your on click, it only has 1 event. It doesn't have this motion event in here. So that was the one that was giving our problem. So we get rid of that. And that's pretty much done with that thing. Now we got 2 errors here. If you hover over this first arrow to set on click listener ever, you notice there's telling you to change it to, and the last one here, on touch listener. But we know we don't want that. So let's hover over to this next arrow of this on click listener, and it's different correction. And one of them says import on click listener. We need to import a library. So let's click on that. If you go up, the library is inserted up here. And if you notice, no errors. It's all corrected. So we know that's going to work. So now let's do the same thing for button 1. We're going to do it to button 2. And then where you see a touch, change it to click. Here's one here. Capital C. Touch goes capital C, click. Here's another one. And that's all, but we know this is boolean is going to be a void. We know that there's no motion event, so we can get rid of the motion event because on click doesn't have motion event. And of course, the return false can disappear. And now there's no more errors. So we're going to go on top, left-hand side. We're going to go to save it. But before we do, as we look at the library file, we notice there's some caution. If you hover these two, they're going to say they're not being used. And of course, we're not using the on touch anymore. Remember, we changed it to all click, so let's get rid of that. And the motion event was the second part of that on touch, so we can get rid of that. And now there's no more warning at all. So let's go over the top hand side to left bar, say save. You notice there's on the project, there's no red boxes, there's no errors. It should run. So let's run the game. So let's go on the top. I always like to touch the file in the Project Explorer. I touch the project name so Android won't get confused. I click the run button on the top bar to run the game again. We have the game already up, emulator already running, so it should reload. So we're going to wait till, there it is, it's reloading. Let's see what happens. And the game reloaded. Now let's see if it works. I'm going to hit the launch. We hear the music playing. Now we're going to hit the back button. Now we're going to hit the back button again and see if it plays again. And it didn't play. It didn't have that error. If we hit the icon, here's the icon again, the top, the fourth row. This I changed this sprite. Click that, and here it is. My game is up and running. Exit always works. It goes back. That works fine. We should test that anyway. So hit the sprite icon again. Hit the launch game. Hit the back button one more time, and that's it. It's done. Get back to our game again. As you notice, the welcome screen, the buttons work perfect. If we hit the back button twice, it doesn't reload the game, and that's because we had to change the on touch to on click. Let's bring up Eclipse file, and as you can see, we're done. Let me scroll this down a little bit so we can see everything. If you notice, we had to add the library. That's all we did. We created these two methods, button 1 and button 2, named them, and we made sure on this top method, that on create method, that the call for the two methods are here. And of course, we made them here, and as you can see, it works fine. You can pause. If I went too fast, you could pause anytime, the video anytime you want, and to catch up with what I'm typing. And here's the whole screen. So you can pause it here and type it if I'm going too fast. And the on click works exactly what it's supposed to, and we got rid of that on touch error. Again, I made these methods just for make it neat for the future. So other than that, that's it. Thank you for listening. And next time I'll be adding another functionality to the welcome screen, which will be turning off and on the background music. Well, thank you for listening, and good luck, everybody.